as well as like you described it as event production.
We're probably more on the end of an event production company, yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, hold on. We're having trouble streaming YouTube.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll just go like normal.
Okay.
And if they're not streaming it, I'll put it up later.
Okay.
But so yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and give a little background about how you got into this business?
Okay, so my name's Ron. I worked in bars and nightclubs for about 15 years. And funny enough, the way all this started is I was actually I was a bartender for years, and us bartenders tend to drink a little bit more than the average. So I think it was like probably about noon on a Monday or something like that. We were out drinking with some buddies, and I heard a guy talking about doing private events, and I remember just kind of asking him about it, and it sounded really cool to me. So I decided to go ahead and try to get into the private bartending business, how it started off with, and it kind of started from there. And actually, the way this thing all started is I was actually going to school, and they gave me one of those checks for going to school or something like that. And I actually took that money and bought some rental equipment, and kind of this all started from there.
Nice. What you buy to begin with?
When I first started, really all I was doing was private bartending and staffing events. So I went out and bought some really cheesy fold-out white plastic tables, some linens from Walmart or something like that. I had a bunch of bar tools and equipment already. And that was all I had. I did that for probably almost a year. And then as I did all these private events, I talked with the other vendors and whatnot. And, I was how they did all the table rentals and the chair rentals, the linens and yada, yada, yada. So, well, if I'm doing this, might as well get into this. So then I got into the actual party event rentals. And then from there, we got into the catering. And then from there, we kind of wrapped it all together into one package.
Right. Awesome. So what is the stuff you're offering, like the services you're offering right now? What do you do day-to-day business?
So day-to-day right now, unfortunately, is kind of a cricket snare. It's not a whole lot right now, but when things are normal, weddings are definitely our bread and butter. It's probably about a good 80% of our business. So usually what we'll do is they'll come at me from two different angles. They'll come at me from the party rental angle, or they'll come at me from the catering angle. And the beauty is I can tie both of those together. So if, when they're having a wedding and they need the caterer, we can go ahead and handle the catering for them, and then we'll go ahead and offer all the party rentals. We can put them together. Or they'll come from the other angle, all the rentals, whatever they may be, and then we'll tie the catering, the staffing in together.
Okay, so you do catering, like full service on-site catering?
Definitely, yeah. To be honest with you, on the catering end, I can't wait to get out of it. It's just, for all you guys that do catering out there and food catering, my hat's off to you. You guys got to deal with so much crap, and it's stressful, and I can't control what other people or other vendors may do. If 5 of my guys want to show up late, I can't control that, and it just drives me nuts. So I'm actually steering away from the catering, trying two angles. Most of my investment goes into the rental end right now. But, the catering end of it, we're not I wouldn't call us a 4-star, 5-star catering company. We kind of stop at the mid to high level catering, and then we don't really go above that. It's just too much of a pain in the butt for me.
Right. I was looking at your website, and you do, one of the main things on there was taco catering with, what do you call those? Cast iron skillets.
Yeah. They're called something, I forget, but yeah, we definitely do those.
Right. I really like that look. So you got instead of a chafing dish, you got the cast iron skillet with a sterno under it, and it all looks rustic and delicious and whatever. So you mostly do like taco catering?
The taco catering, man, I'll tell you, I'm in Southern California. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but down here, taco catering is, I'm telling you, I've done events in Hollywood, the beach, we've kind of in the movies here and there a little bit, and people absolutely love those tacos, man. It is so big down here. I've done so well with it. It's fun. It's pretty easy. Usually what we do, like people do taco catering all the time, but I put a really big emphasis, man, on just being one step above what I've seen in the past. So like those skillets and whatnot, that's kind of on the low end, man. We have stuff light on fire, you name it, man. I'm really big in the eye candy and presentation, and that's really done well for us.
Right, that's good. I don't know that much about catering, so you want to like talk about that process a little, like how much prep goes in? Like, do you have a trailer? Do you cook it all somewhere and bring it, or you cook it on site?
Right. So That's going to be dependent on the client and how they want to do it. So it's usually better to do it on site. Obviously, the fresher the better. I don't like to. There's this when you go into somebody's home. I've gone into someone's home twice now, and their oven didn't work. So, right. It's just I can't see. That's another thing that I can't control. I really try to stay away from that. But usually, the client will reach out. We'll go over menu options. What kind of theme they're doing. We'll go ahead and develop a menu for them. And then from there, we'll go ahead and I'll type the menu out. I'll know exactly how much staff I need and whatnot, so I can bill them appropriately. I try to do as much as I can from the day before, as opposed to doing it all there. It just really helps on time. So yeah, as much as you can do at home, the better. Before you actually go launch out, we have a truck. We don't usually need we have a trailer truck. We don't usually need it for the catering end. We can usually load up a couple of trucks and go ahead and head out, just depending on how big the job actually is. But again, the catering end, once you get on site, there's really no oops, we forgot this. He says you have to have all of that stuff. You really got to be under P's and Q's when you do catering.
Right. Do you bring ovens and fridges or anything, or rent them from someone else?
No, we bring our own ovens. We have one fridge, we have one oven. We'll bring our own flatware. Whatever they need, we'll go ahead and bring that. I actually use that taco, or what we do for tacos. I actually use that for a flat grill. It works amazing and does really good for hot holding for certain things. So it works out really good for that. And I have a couple of I got a couple of grills that we bring out too, if should they even need it. In all honesty, to bring all that stuff out, the only time I really bring those out is for whatever reason when I'm in the Hollywood area or the beach area. That's what I use those, because they tend to have the higher end parties.
Right. That's great. I like the idea of a taco wedding.
That's awesome.
What's better than that? Everyone loves tacos. So
yeah. It changes the mood a little bit too. I'm telling you, when you're doing this really high end, they're doing steaks and you got shrimp and lobster going out and whatnot. It just changes the attitude of their guests. When you do tacos, it just lays everybody back, and the more relaxed and they have a beer with their tacos, it changes the mood.
Right. That's cool. So you also do bartending. Do you still do a lot of that nowadays? Not nowadays, but
right. Yeah, we do plenty of that. I have a whole department that's nothing but bartenders. So we do, the bartending is what I started off with, and I never let it go. I had so many people that I kind of brought on in the early days that they've kind of built regulars, so to speak, with a lot of the clients that I have. So when they call, they want that specific bartender they used a year ago or a year and a half ago, whatever it may be. So we do plenty of bartending.
Right. On the legal logistic end of that, a lot of people have asked me questions about it, and I don't really have the answers. Do you have to have a liquor license, or does the customer buy the liquor and you're just a service?
Okay, good question. So I get that a lot too. So no, you do not have to have a liquor license. And truth be told, guys, there's no such thing here in California anyways. So now here's how that differs. When you're doing bartending events, you do not have to, especially if you're at somebody's house, definitely not. However, when you are working at a venue, that venue will require that client to carry a liquor liability insurance. So the company you're dealing with, i.e. me or whoever, has to have a liquor liability insurance policy in order to serve alcohol on that venue premises. Okay. And you can go online and find that. I use Flip Insurance, works fine for me. If you want to sell alcohol, this is where it differs. If your client wants to sell alcohol at their event, which a lot of them do because they want to make their money back or God knows what, that's when you need a liquor license. Okay. And those are super expensive. Usually you would refer that client off to a like a restaurant or something like that, because they carry those type of licenses. We don't usually. They're really expensive.
All right. So you try to stay away from events where where the person throwing the event's trying to actually sell the liquor?
Well, if you're doing it at a venue and you want to keep your company safe, I would say definitely. If you get busted for doing that, you're going to get fined, and that's going to really mess up the insurance policy that you're currently carrying for your liquor liability insurance.
Now, is your liquor liability on an event by event basis, or do you just have one that covers you the whole year?
I have one that covers me for 12 months. Now, when the client needs that insurance policy, I'll go ahead and add them to what's called by added insured, and then I'll email it off to the whoever's running the venue or whatnot, and I'll charge that client kind of proportionate to how many guests they have, what type of bar they want, and whatnot.
Okay, sounds good. Do you also charge for adding them? Because with my additional insureds, I get charged $25 every time I got to add someone. So I just charge them, the customer, that.
Uh, I charge a bit more than that. So if you were going to, like, I guess you would call it the open market, and you just wanted to get a 1 day event insurance, I think it's about $150 to $300 or something like that. So
Okay.
I'll charge a client usually around $80, $100, something like that.
Okay, cool. Now, are you buying the alcohol or are they? Is there some sort of like gray area in that?
Kind of. So it's really upon them. So let's just say they have a party of 100, they're doing a wedding. Usually the way I like to format it is to make like 3 specific specialty cocktails they want to serve, and then you just do beer, wine, champagne in the background. That's the way I like to do it. So that makes the purchase of the liquor a little bit easier. If they want me to pick it up, I'll do it. There's going to be a small charge for doing that. I definitely recommend that for waste. You're going to spend your time, your gas, picking up the liquor. I charge 10% of whatever that liquor bill is. So if they have like $1,000 liquor bill, I'm gonna charge them $100 for picking up that liquor.
Okay. Oh yeah, it also varies state by state, I imagine. Like I've been told in New York that I can't actually go buy the liquor. Otherwise, then I'm some sort of vendor that they have to buy the liquor, but I can be a service provider, a bartender.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's yeah. I hear you. I've done it many a times. I've never heard anything about it. To my understanding, here in California, as long as I'm not on the venue selling it on the premises, I'm good.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting. We've been building a horse bar trailer, taking a horse trailer and turning it into a bar.
Oh,
and
nice.
We're just renting it out to the customer, and the customer is having a catering company. They're doing the catering and they also do the bar. So the caterer will be in there. But I have had people questioning if we would do it. And it's good that I'm talking to you, because I just don't know the logistics or the legal of it.
Oh man, it is a pain. Have everything on site if you can. That's my recommendation. Have everything on site. In your case, if you have a stable venue, that's awesome. I'd love to get into that one day. And if you have everything on site, I would think you would have everything there. So logistics for you would just be bringing in the staffing that you need if you're even going to need that.
Right. Cool. You also mentioned that you do valet. Are you still doing that? Do you do that a lot?
The valet is not really big with us. The only place I really do valets, honestly, is in San Diego. Tends to want them, and they're kind of like the higher end clients. And then the Hollywood area is probably the biggest. They're the biggest customer base for valet, and then at the beach. And it's usually for not so much weddings, actually. Funny enough, the valet is usually for I guess you'd call them corporate clients. They're usually having something to do with like the Hollywood scene, maybe movies, something like that.
Right.
And they're not valets.
Have you met anyone famous? You don't have to say their names, but have you valeted famous people?
No, I met a couple people. What's that guy from UFC? He had the big giant chain on with the padlock on it.
Savage, something Savage.
Something like that. Yeah, I met him. I met the writers from Friends. I did a job for them. Who else did I meet? There's a couple other ones too. We went to Leonardo DiCaprio's Palm Springs house. We didn't know it was his house until we saw his pictures on the wall.
Okay.
Went to his house. There's been a couple here and there.
That's cool. Now, on that end, insurance-wise as well, do you have to have a insurance policy for all those fancy cars, or is it like they're hiring you, so it's their responsibility?
No. So if you're going to have a valet, that's going to be something you're going to build. So when you buy your insurance policy, just depending on where you are in your business, if you're just like kind of starting up, small guy, you're just doing like bartending events and whatnot, you're going to need that liquor liability. If you do valet, you're going to need to add, that's a part of the policy you're going to have to add on. Just like if you're doing party rentals, I have what's called a trailer endorsement that I have to have. So if I'm in a venue and I hit the building with my trailer, I got to be covered for that. So the valet insurance takes care of that, and they wouldn't have to carry it. I carry that on my end, and they'll pay me to have that for that event.
Okay, that sounds cool. We've done valet a few times, but it's always been a caterer that we work with. He has like hired us as staff, so he's had all that. I've never had to deal with it. Someone wanted us to valet like a huge 1,000-person event.
Oh, wow.
It would have all been on me, and I was like, I'm not going to go get insurance for one thing.
Yeah, that sounds, especially if it's something you've never really done before, man. You got to wreck someone's Lamborghini, man. I don't know about that.
Right. What was weird was everyone was showing up in fancy cars, and they all had the same keychain. And we were like, "What is going on?" They all rented them. They came into town and they couldn't just rent a Prius or whatever. They had to rent a BMW, and every single person had a rental fancy car. And I just thought it was funny. Like,
it's funny over here in Southern California, we'll have those fancy rental cars. If you're in LA or Hollywood, everyone will have a Prius rental. Super rich people, but they got to have a Prius though, man. It's funny.
Right. Well, I just don't see the point. And you're flying into town for a day or two. Like, why are you going to spend so much money on a rental car just so you can keep appearances up?
So you can park it for 4 hours and drive it for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Just get a regular car. No one's paying attention. No one cares.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
It's a big deal in some place. Out here, I don't know.
Yeah. I take that back. Out in some places, people probably do care and probably do judge you on what rental car you're driving. But on the rental side of the business, what are the items that you're renting out like a traditional rental company?
Okay, so by far, our white resin chairs, those are our biggest rental. Our 6 foot rounds and our 6 foot rectangle tables, those probably go out. The 6 foot rectangles and the 6 foot rounds kind of even, I guess. But we do so many weddings that the white resin chairs, those are huge. Those are probably 60-70% of what I send out. And when I first started doing the rental end, I bought those, and I had to literally, like right after I rent them out, I had to make like 3-4 more orders just of those chairs so I can do multiple events at the same time. So the white resin chairs were really big, and then after that, the Chivari chairs became pretty popular. So over here in SoCal, the Chivari chairs are pretty popular, but those white resin chairs, I can rent those all day long.
Right. Are actual in a venue or the ceremony or?
Well, both actually. Sometimes they do both. We've had to actually, I've had to have crews on site because they'll do the actual ceremony, and then we've had to pick everything up and then move it to the reception area and set everything back up because they're going to use the same rentals that we want to change from one rental type to a different rental type. So we've had to do that a couple of times. For the most part, the weddings, it's usually just the ceremony. That's what they really care about. And then when they have the party and whatnot, we usually, I'll have my dance floor out there and all that kind of stuff. So we're not worried about it.
Right. So when you're doing weddings, where are you mostly working? In an event venue or open air because you're in California, or right, or someone else's big tent?
When I first started off, it was kind of like I did a lot more residential stuff, and now that I've kind of grown, I'm probably more into the venue. We do more venues now, probably, but we still do plenty of home rentals. And over here in SoCal, there's certain areas out here like Calabasas. We're huge out there. There's like multi-million-dollar mansions, so they have these really cool lofts and scenic walkways and whatnot. So we do plenty of that in that area. The beach is really hard because they don't have any room. They have these multi-million-dollar houses and they're the size of a shoebox. Right. So we probably more do venues, but we do plenty of residential still. There's a lot of areas here in SoCal that are just absolutely gorgeous, and they have the room for it.
Right. On the residential side and the tent side, are tents needed that much out in California? Because you do have nicer weather, but people are putting up tents still? Yeah.
No, we I don't know how it is. I'm actually just breaking into different areas. I'm about to go up to Portland, Oregon. And I haven't, the whole COVID thing hit, so I haven't got that much into it. But we do tents out here, but they're more, to block the sun because it's so dang hot. It's really not for the for rain and rain and whatnot. But they do them out here, but probably not as much. I would think in colder climates.
Right. Yeah, I see a lot of pictures where it's like a dance floor with poles with the lights in the air. Yeah. And all the tables and chairs are just outside. Yeah. And I always thought that was cool. I'm a little jealous because you don't have to have as many tents. And the tent's the hard part. The other stuff's kind of easy.
Yeah. I don't do that many tents I only have 2 tents, and they don't, maybe I'm not marketing them the way I should be and whatnot, but they really don't go out that much. And when they do, it's definitely some kind of corporate client. I don't usually do them at houses, which is kind of odd.
Right. Do you do like the lighting on poles or like wine barrels with poles on them and do lighting up in the air?
Yeah. So we have, so that's kind of part of our packaging. Funny enough, anything you can use to put into your package to kind of generate revenue, man, do it. So it is, some of the stuff I just kind of made up. I just saw them at other events like, oh, we need to do that. So we definitely try to light up our our tents, when we do them, we'll light them up. We'll definitely light up wine barrels. All of my bars. So I have about 8 bars, and I built 7 of those 8 bars. Every one of them has a big, what I call a light box that has some kind of chandelier in there, whatever you want to call it. All my bars pretty much light up. We'll definitely light up whatever we can, because that's, for one, it looks way better, and 2, it generates revenue too.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, I really like out in nice weather like there, Texas or whatever, just a ceiling of lights in the open sky, and that'd be cool. And I wish I could do that here, but it rains almost every other day here in upstate New York. So we got to do the stupid tents all the time.
Yeah, looking at some fake sunshine, man.
Right. So you do valet, you do bartending, you do catering, you do rentals. What else? What else do you do? Event related?
Oh, so oddly enough, I'll actually I'll offer my event insurance, which is something especially if you're hurting, and you can actually market your event insurance, because when you go on the open market to buy it, to my understanding, at least in my area, I think it's like $300, and I'll sell you my event insurance for a venue for half that.
Really?
I mean, if you're some 20, I don't do. Let me say this: I don't do 21-year-old birthday parties. If you have a 21-year-old birthday party, I would advise you don't need to call me, because I'm not going to do it, because you guys do things. Just, I won't offer it to those guys. But after I get an idea of who I'm talking to, what kind of event they're having, I'll offer that out there. Beyond that, so I don't think so. We're really big into the rentals right now, and then the staffing's kind of like my bread and butter.
Right. Do other caterers call you just for staff, or other venues just call you just for staff, and you're just sending people over and they're getting paid hourly, but you're making money on top of that?
Kind of, yeah. So I've built some. I've definitely networked in the time I've been doing this. So I'm kind of buddies with a lot of caterers out there. I'm buddies with some other vendors out there. Networking was really big in this business. But what I made sure to do is every time I go to venues, so all the venues that I go to, I call it it's like the circuit. Like if you're in a band and you do like the band circuit, all these venues, most of them anyways, I've already been to. So I've done them multiple times, some more than others. And I know those venue people pretty well. So I made sure to get chummy with them, so that when, they have a client coming to them saying, hey, we're going to have a wedding here, whatever it may be, they'll refer me to that client. So I did that as much as possible, and that has worked out super well for me.
Cool. Now, say someone is just wanting to start off. They don't want to get into the rental side because that's a whole bunch of money. Yeah. But getting into the services is a little bit cheaper. Like you could do a one-man bartending thing or whatever. What would you tell people to start off with? Would they want to start with bartending and then expand to valet, or go some other direction?
Yeah. So this is what I would tell you. If you're going to start off somewhere and you have any kind of bartending skills, to be honest with you, you could start a little bartending company and never bartended in your life. You could watch a YouTube video for about an hour and man, you're good. Just smile and, have a good attitude, and you'll probably do okay. The investment on that, depending on your end, man, is really almost zero. Man, if you don't have it's one bar to get started off with, you can buy them, you can build them, man. It really doesn't cost much at all, man. When I first started off, Craigslist was free. Now you got to pay like $5 or something like that. So I still use Craigslist and whatnot. But if you're going to start off, bartending would be a really good place to start. It's super, super low on the investment end. You can make a little bit of money. And from there, from doing events and the bartending end, you'll learn kind of how these events work. You'll meet other vendors. You'll meet caterers. You can network really well to get started off with. So that bartending would definitely be a good way to get in.
Right. And then like you said, you're at those events and you're in different markets. So it's not going to be the same for everywhere, but you're at the event in your market and you'll see, well, they're doing these kind of rentals all the time. And you can get into that and you can be like, oh, they have a restroom trailer here every time. I could get in a restroom trailer. Are you going to get into restroom trailers?
I have 2 of them. I forgot to say that. I have 2 of them. I just bought them like 3-4 months ago, and I haven't rented one of them out yet. So they're kind of sitting in the storage, taking up space right now. So I have 2 of them. And funny enough, that's what happened. I went to venues or went to parties and whatnot, and they would have them there. I'm like, well, I might as well have those too. So I bought 2 of them, and they've just been kind of sitting in the store. So I haven't marketed them or anything, but we're going to offer those here as soon as things come back to normal, and I'm sure they're going to go out all the time.
Yeah, they will. I didn't know you had them. I didn't see them on your website.
Yeah, we put them on there.
Okay. Speaking of websites, before we jumped on, you had a funny story because we were talking about websites and pictures and stuff, and you said, "Go ahead with your story about the picture and that person."
Oh, the guy. Yeah. So, disclaimer. I mean, honestly, I don't think you guys should have to worry about. I don't worry about it, but just kind of a heads up. So we did a party somewhere, and I was taking video on my phone to post it on my website or something like that. And there was a guy in the video who was really chummy with this girl or something. Well, that guy's married. And I put the video up on my Facebook or something like that. And, I invite all the people from that event to kind of take a look at their videos and pictures and whatnot. And his wife or whatever saw that. And he called me like the next day, breathing down my neck to pull that thing down and to not answer the phone if she calls and all this crazy stuff. So, it's what are you going to do, man? Like, you probably shouldn't have been chummy with that lady. But, when you take videos and stuff, they can come back to bite you, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. Like when I get pictures off of Google for the website, or I get the brides to send me pictures.
Yeah.
I try just to get the pictures of no one in the tent, but a lot of times they're sending, the dancing's going on or whatever. They don't really get that many pictures of the tent and everything set up beforehand. So that's not what I'm getting. And I'm always wary of putting those up because maybe this person doesn't want to be in the picture, or maybe they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take any heat for that. That was that guy's fault, right. Whatever. But I've done jobs. Like there was one guy that was a retired FBI. He's really chummy with George Bush, the junior. Actually, he had pictures with him all over his house, whatever. And he told me like before I got there to not take any pictures in that home. If there's one of those parties where they don't want you to take pictures, they'll tell you usually. That's one of the first things he told us, like, don't take any pictures. There were people there that were, kind of high ups in government or whatnot. And they told us straight out, don't take any pictures while you're here. Okay.
Right. Cool. Now, you do catering rentals. You got dishes and flatware and I'm assuming some cooking equipment.
Yeah.
Do other caterers rent that from you? Or do you just try to keep that as you're going to be there doing the bar and this and that? You want to also provide that?
Yeah, we not really. I've had here and there, I've had some people reach out to me and subcontract, usually just the flatware, the chafing dishes. That's really it. Otherwise, not so much. Actually, I mean, I have some buddies, in the area, and sometimes they'll hit me up just to borrow one. And, honestly, I'll let them borrow it for an event if they need it or something like that.
Right. Cool. Back to valet. What's your process? I'll try to make my process real quick, just to give you background and give me tips. Basically, we get the cars in, we go park them, we put a Post-it note in there that says the number that corresponds with their key hook or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then once it kind of dies down, once everyone showed up, we send someone around and they draw like a detailed map of where everything is and then bring it back so that when that person comes out, they give us the key and their number 2. We can look at the map and be like, 2's all the way up there. Or whatever.
Right.
So what's like a more professional process or whatever to,
I mean, we haven't made an exact science of it either, to be honest with you. We've never done it more than maybe 100 cars or something like that. And the thing about valet is depending on where you're at, like we do them out here in, the beach areas, like Hollywood areas. That's usually where they want them at. A lot of the times it's, we've had to park cars down. I mean, I'm not even kidding you, down these wraparound hills in like the Calabasas area. I mean, we've had them. I mean, the terrain could be so crazy. You don't really know until, you get there. They can tell you all they want over the phone until you get there. It's like, oh, this is not what they told us. What we try to do is put them into grids. So let's just assume that you have a big open area. That happens half the time, usually around here. And we'll put them into grids. So it's just like drawing a box with boxes in it. And we'll have so many cars in that grid. That'll be A, the next grid will be B, the next grid will be C, and then down A1, B1, yada, yada, yada. There usually be about 4 to 6 cars in that grid. And then we'll color code the tickets. So we'll have red, green, blue, yada, yada, yada. So that kind of lets us know what area they're in. And that's how I do it. And it's not exact science, to be honest with you, but just putting them into grids and then color coding the keys, that helps for us. Makes it a lot easier.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely cool if you've got the space. Now, what if you're on that big curvy road?
You're screwed.
You're screwed? Okay.
Yeah. So
So my way would work for that if we just number every car, and then once it dies down, go make a detailed map of where every car is with a number and a box.
You still make the map. So if it's like one of those curvy hills, we literally just start. So every 10 cars, we change that little color tab. So we know, like we start with yellow and then we go to the dark colors. So if you have like a yellow tag, I know you're on the top of the hill. And if you have a dark, like a black, you're on the very bottom. You're somewhere towards the bottom. So we know to take the buggy, go down there, and you're going to be in that area somewhere.
Nice. We got our first question here. Let's. Do most people want normal mixed drinks like rum and Coke when bartending, or fancier drinks, or is this something you negotiate and priced out earlier?
Yeah, good question. So that really depends on the client. Some of these people call and they literally, it sounds like they've never even drank alcohol in their life. They ain't got a clue. Some people are a little bit more specific usually. So the way I do it, I have about 5 or 6 made up menus. Here's a really good idea. So I use PowerPoint, I believe, and I went on there and I made these cocktail menus. So I made a summer one, a winter one, like a cognac one, a coffee menu, yada, yada, yada. And I'll let them know, like, hey, I have a bunch of menus that I'm going to send over to you. Feel free to take a look at them. Let me know if anything jumps out to you. They'll look at those. And then within, usually, I'm not even kidding, I've had them come back in 10 minutes and go, okay, we want these 3 drinks. So having pre-made menus set up to email to your client will take that off of your back. Because then you don't got to sit there on the phone and go, well, there's this drink, this drink, this drink. You know, you'd be there for an hour doing that crap. So having preset menus to send off to your client definitely helps.
Right. It saves a lot of time. And like you said, if you don't have that, then they're just going to be on the phone with you forever talking about different drinks. But you were saying earlier, you try to get like some signature drinks so that you can do the signature drinks. Those are the ones that are going to take a little bit of time that you can prepare for. But then someone comes up and just wants rum and Coke, then that's easy.
Yeah. So the way it'll kind of work out is kind of like this. So the way I do it, and it's kind of standard, is that I'll recommend to the client they have like 3, maybe 4 specialty cocktails. Those are the ones that are really fun and fancy. You know, you put them on a chalkboard or something like that on top of the bar so they can just walk up and see the drinks that you're making and whatnot. And then they have the other stuff like wine, beer, champagne, or whatever. So usually out of those specialty drinks that you already made up, you can use that alcohol to make the, rum and Cokes or God knows whatever it may be. But even still, you just let your client know it's good to have a couple bottles of this and a couple bottles of this. It doesn't cost a lot of money to have 3-4 bottles of rum, 3-4 bottles. And here's another thing too, is vodka makes everything. So if you have a specialty drink with vodka in it, you can pretty make 10,000 drinks. So usually this works out that way, that I have what I need or my staff will have what they need to make all kinds of different drinks.
Right. Speaking on staff, how many employees do you have?
Oh, that's a good question. As far as a solid base, like I say, yeah, these are my guys. I use them all the time. Probably about 7. And then, so I have a pretty broad network. So I kind of have like what you would call like divisions or whatever you want to call them. So I have an Orange County, I have a San Diego, I have a LA, I have a West LA, and I have a Inland Empire area. And I have people all in those areas that I'll use if I need to use them. If I have someone in San Diego, I'm not going to use them regularly if I'm doing jobs in LA. They're just not going to make that drive. So I kind of have a base that's here centralized in like the LA, Orange County area. And then I have plenty of other ones that have worked for me before in the past and whatnot that I'll use should I have to use them. But it's kind of hard to keep like a base. Because it just depends on how much business you're doing. If you're a real big deal, man, and you're doing 20 events every couple of weeks or something like that, you're going to have a pretty big base. I don't tend to, I have a 7 or 8 that I really use for the most part. And if I need so, I have plenty more that have worked for me in the past here and there that I can call on if I need them.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's more like case by case. Like you may not be doing a bartending gig every night or whatever, but so you have your core dudes and then you have other people you just call as needed.
Definitely.
Cool. Is this your full-time gig? Do you do anything else?
Yeah, so it's a funny story about that. So kind of like I said, I did a lot of the staffing and catering for a while, and then I moved into the rental side. The rental side is the rental side blows out of proportion all the other stuff. As far as investment, it's not even funny. So the investment in the rental side it's a couple bucks. It costs a couple dollars. So what I do is I'm in sales. So the thing about sales is I get burnt out after about a year. So I'll do a sales job and I'll make pretty good money. And I usually use the money from that to invest into the business. And I'm just about done. So I built this thing. Like I said, I got like $1,000 check from school like 4 years ago. That was the initial investment. And right about now, it's kind of like my 4-year degree. I should be finishing up. I mean, if we can get back to normal, hopefully this year, I don't think I have to work for anybody anymore. But now, as of right now, I do have a 9 to 5. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I just lost my train of thought. But yeah. So I was talking to some dude who does photo booths, and I was like, "Yo, is this a good idea?" And he was like, it doesn't make that much profit. You not for the level you're at. Probably just stick with the rentals. For someone just starting, like trying to make some money, doing a photo booth is going to be good. But once you're at a certain level, it's not anything. Is that anything you foresee in the future? Like as rentals grow, are you going to drop anything like valet or drop the bartending?
Funny enough, I might drop the catering in just because it's just a pain in the butt, man. It's just of all the issues you can have doing events and whatnot. If I ever have issues, it usually comes from the catering end. So that's something we'll see in the near future. But funny enough, I thought about a photo booth for probably the last 2 years. I've never pulled the trigger. I just haven't done it. I've looked up the cost and what the supposed revenue could be from these photo booths, and I don't know, man. I can't pull the trigger on it. I've seen quotes where you can rent them out for $275 an hour. If that's the case, then I'll get a photo booth. But I've talked to other vendors and whatnot. Some are like, we have every single weekend and yada yada yada. So I'm a little 50-50 on the photo booth.
Right. It's definitely market. There's probably some markets where these dudes are getting it out all the time, and it's what they do all the time. Yeah. But I think there's a lot more markets where it's going out, maybe every weekend, but the amount of money that you're making off of it for the investment and sending someone out is not as much as you would make sending out 100 Chiavari chairs in less time.
Yeah. I sent out 100 Chiavari chairs. It just kills. From what I've seen, when you can charge for a photo booth, it would just knock that out of the park.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like a good point to like enter, but eventually once you start growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger, you're going to move your money into more profitable things and probably move away from those. You may still do it, but
truth be told, I would like to have it in my inventory. I actually would. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I would just rather have it than not have it. I just, the investment, I think for the ones I looked up, medium to high ends, like a $6,500, $8,500. And I just haven't had the heart to actually go ahead and do it.
Right. There's another dude on YouTube called Lee, the bartending photo boothing rental guy. And he teaches you how to build the photo booth. He's kind of like you. He started in the bartending thing. So he mostly does a lot of bartending gigs. Yeah. And then he started building his own photo booths. And now he's getting into rentals. He's up in Canada, but he's got a YouTube channel where he teaches you how to build that thing. And when you build it yourself, it's a lot cheaper.
If you have any kind of hand talent, I built 7 of my 8 bars, and I rent those things anywhere from $150 to $700.
Right.
If you can build stuff, it helps.
Right. And sometimes the materials are free. If you're driving down the road and you see a bunch of pallets, take those pallets and build a bar.
I never did it. I've had people tell me that 100 times, make a pallet bar. I'm not doing it.
Right. Well, for someone who's just starting out, they don't have any money. I've seen some very nice pallet bars. You got to put some work into it. You got to sand it and make it look nice, but you can make a bar for really cheap.
Oh yeah, for sure. All you got to do is paint them. Just paint them, throw some. That's about it.
Yep. We got another question about your area, basically. How do you price delivery and schedules with LA traffic? Don't see you being able to do as many deliveries in one day. Does that affect your price?
Yeah. So here's what I would say about that. If you're kind of starting off, so my local area, so I have 2 warehouses. I got one in Riverside and I got one in the LA area. So if you don't know what that distance is, that's about a 55-mile gap. Okay. So I can kind of cover a pretty wide area from those 2 warehouses. So if I have a client in San Diego, they need chairs, tables, it's got to be liquidative, man. If they just want like 10 chairs and a couple tables, couple chairs, couple linens, I'm not even going to deal with it. But if they have a sizable order and I know it's going to generate revenue for my company, sometimes, honestly, I'll go ahead and take the hit on the fuel, whatever it may be. Other times, usually, because within the area that I'm in, I can cover a pretty wide base. Okay, so if you're pretty far, like LA to San Diego is like 70 miles, man. That's pretty far. And I'll usually include that in the contract, and I'll usually let them know that, hey, there's going to be a bit of a fuel cost on this order or whatnot. They're usually okay with it. I mean, if you're calling me from San Diego, something happened in your area to where you're not able to get what you want. So you're going to be dealing with me kind of whether you want to or not. But that does come up, and you just price it accordingly. Most people don't have a problem with it that I've dealt with.
Right. How do you price it? Like we have a equation where it's miles away times 4 because we have to go there, come back, and then we have to go there and come back. So we do it times 4 and then 75 cents a mile. So what's your equation?
Pretty much. So I don't really use an equation. I go on my phone and I calculate out what it costs in my truck, or if I'm using the actual trailer or whatnot, I'll just times that out. What it's going to cost me for fuel. I don't overcharge them on the fuel. I charge them what it will cost me exactly for fuel and labor. So if I know it's going to cost me, $88 to go to San Diego 4 times, then I'm going to include that in the actual the beginning contract, and that's how I do it. It's not really scientific. I just don't want to lose money when it comes to the fuel. I'm not trying to really make any money or anything.
Are you using some sort of app that's telling you how much fuel it's going to cost for your truck or your trailer?
No, I know my truck gets 16 miles of the gallon when it's on the freeway. I know it gets 12 and I got a big old trailer on the back, and I just times that by the mileage, and that's how I get my number.
Okay, cool. Nice. Any tips or anything you would give to anyone just starting out kind of the same way you are that you did, like in the bartending and then growing?
If I had any tips, it would probably be this. So the way I built mine, I built it from 0 and up. I see people out there who actually take out loans or they'll borrow against like a mortgage on their house, whatever it may be, to get into the rental game. And that's totally fine. That's if that's the way you want to do it, it's great. I started from 0 and kind of just built it piece by piece. And if you do it that way, 1, it's safer. 2, you don't have a really large investment. I would get into the game, whatever angle you come from, whether it's on the bartending end, the staffing end, if you're going to come into the valet, and however you can get into the event world, get into it and just learn event by event by event. You'll pick it up pretty fast, I would hope. And then from there, you can kind of develop in your own mind the way you want to run your company.
Right. Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? Like, and I know you just added the restroom trailers. Like, what other things are you going to take? There's a big piece of an event pie. What other pieces are you going to take?
So this is what I want to do. This is started right before the COVID thing hit. So I've lived around kind of different places here and there. I live in Portland, Oregon, Arizona, and whatnot. So I have friends and buddies that live in those areas. So I want to take this company and I want to take it national. So I want to start putting my flag in different large cities across the United States. So I got family in New Orleans, and I did some marketing in certain areas just to see what would come back. And there's like New Orleans in the catering world. Oh man, you can do really well over there. So I want to start branching out to different cities across the country, large cities like Houston, Portland, Oregon, might even mess with New York, Chicago, you name it. And I want to just throw some marketing out there, see what comes back, what's profitable. I want to go ahead and start setting up top shelf in different places across the country.
That's cool. And you would run everything from your location out in California and have teams out there that you can call and they go do the things.
So I have no idea. I don't know how to do it. No idea. I set up a business plan in the beginning. It didn't do anything like my business plan. So really the way I do this is trial and error. I've never really made a huge mistake in all the time I've been doing this. I've never really dropped the ball. I stay on top of things. I actually have what I would call a office sales rep. So they kind of handle a lot of the back end for me. So I'll literally put that sales rep on the phone for 5 hours and I will tell him to go on Google and I want you to call every corporation or every, medium, small business within this radius. And we get plenty of business just doing that. So that's what I would have. That would be more their part. So when I go into different areas in the country or different cities or whatnot, they're going to handle a lot of that marketing end for me, the phone calls and building up that clientele.
Right. The only thing I see that you're going to have to really focus on with that is like the logistic end of location and distances and routes and things like that.
Definitely. Yeah, there's going to be some money lost here and there, but it's fine. I'll only go to places where I have other friends or family. So I got plenty of other friends that are in other areas of the country. There are bartenders and God knows what. So I actually use them to kind of like help set it up in that area. But yeah, you're totally right.
Right. Good idea. How old are you?
I'm 39. I'm hitting the big 4-0 here in December.
That's all right. I'm 37.
Oh man, that was good.
Yeah. It used to be cool being young in it. Now I'm old in it, and it's not as cool. The customer's not impressed anymore that I was 22 and had a business. Now they don't care that a 37-year-old has a business.
No, not at all, man. Now it just hurts.
Right. You kind of look similar to me, kind of. You're slightly alternative. You got to go to. I'm gonna guess you have tattoos under there.
Yeah, I got a couple of those.
Yeah. So how do you navigate that? Because I was always nervous. I got lots of tattoos. I was always nervous showing up to somewhere with my tattoos showing. So I would always be wearing a long sleeve shirt, even if it was the middle of summer, to hide that. You get any pushback on that, or people not wanting to do business with you? Because
okay, so you're funny. So for the staffing end of the business, like the bartenders, the wait staff, all that stuff, I don't even have to find them. I got friends that will just call me up, people I've never, friend of a friend, and go, hey, I heard you got a company. I would love to work with, yada, yada, yada. And all I really care about, man, is that you don't have crap all over your face. If you have like, piercings, like all that crap, it's not happening. I don't know how if you're in Utah, if you have a company in Utah or something, or Montana, that might be an issue. But here in, Southern California, I mean, I don't know of anyone that doesn't have a bunch of tattoos and whatnot. So it is definitely not on the radar as opposed as it was 10 years ago. Nowadays, It's almost the norm. If you got tattoos and crap on your face, definitely a no-go.
Right. Yeah, I was scared, and then I started just wearing T-shirts wherever, and I never gotten any pushback or anything. Nothing's ever come because I got tattoos on my arms. So it's never been a thing.
Never been a thing for me either.
Yeah, everyone's cool with it now.
I guess I'll say this. I had kind of one issue. It wasn't a big issue, but someone did bring it to my attention. So here in Southern California, there's a not nearly as bad as it used to be, but we had a pretty bad gang culture going on here for a while. And there was one guy that had a tattoo on his neck over here, like some kind of gang stuff. And I think one of the I wasn't there. I had my staff out there, but they had told me that someone came up to them and like they knew what that tattoo was or something, and maybe there could be a problem or something like that. So if it's gang related, I would give it more emphasis. If it's just the normal, God knows wherever people get nowadays, I don't think it's that big of a deal really. But if it's, the gang related stuff down in this area can actually be an issue.
Right. Yeah, I see that. It's not going to be an issue up in upstate New York with farms everywhere.
Yeah, Utah, Montana. Yeah, I'm sure you're fine.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, it was good having you on. I enjoyed being able to talk to you about event production instead of just day-to-day rentals of tents and stuff. But thank you for coming on. What's your Instagram that people can go check out?
Oh God, I don't even know. It's going to be Top Shelf Event Service. It should
TS Event Service.
TS Event Service 2015. Yeah, that'll pop it right up.
Yeah. I'll put that link in the description.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, no problem, guys.